This will be a complete training on how to systemize and prepare your business for an exit within the next 18 months. We'll cover, first, how to reduce the cost per acquisition of your business. Secondly, how to increase the lifetime value of your clients so you can make your clients be worth more. Thirdly, we'll cover how to maintain the same level of output while reducing the headcount of your business so you can increase profitability, therefore increase your enterprise value. Fourthly, we'll cover how to reduce human error. Fifth, we'll cover how to reduce business dependency on human resources so you can make your business more attractive on the eyes of an investor. Finally, we'll cover how to make your product more sticky using AI and automations so you can reduce churn within your business and overall create a way more healthy business. The inspiration for this video came to me when I was meeting a co-founder of a software company 2 weeks ago in person, and he was sharing with me the challenges that he currently faces. They are trying to position their business for an exit within the next 18 months, but they face a couple of problems. They are too dependent on human resources to keep the business up and running. Their profit margin is not within the range that it needs to be in order for it to be a sellable business. And overall, their business depends on way too many manual processes that, in the eyes of an investor, is never a green flag for, okay, let's invest in this company. The video that you're gonna watch right now is the final product of the presentation and the roadmap that I put together for him to be aware of what are the steps that need to be taken in order for our business to be sellable. And we're now releasing this to you so you can have access to the same knowledge. Because at Revampify, we're big believers of giving you the roadmap, and then if you want, you can partner with us for the implementation. So the first thing we want to clearly understand, and this is where we will spend most of our times, is the as is and the to be. So we need to define this very clearly. The as is, it's what's the current situation of your business. The to be, what's the ideal situation of your business. And to do so, we need to look at a couple of pillars. The people within your business, the processes, the projects, both current, past, and future projects, the products that you are able to sell in the marketplace, the departments within your business, the resources you have available, whether for an expansion, to invest in X project, to invest in X product, technologies, softwares, what CRMs do you have, the KPIs, and this is very important. Most businesses, you will see that they don't even have KPIs set. This is the most important pillar that you need to have in order to clearly see, as the founder and the manager of the business, to see if your business is being successful or if it's not. Quick story about this. I was talking with a client of ours last week and he was telling us, yeah, we spent 2,000 last week on advertisement. We got 3-4 leads, but yeah, it's going okay. And I asked him, okay, but why do you think it was going okay? What number are you guiding yourself by? How many leads should you have gotten from $2,000? And he couldn't tell me. He was like, okay, I spent the money. I got X amount of leads. To me, it was a success. We'll cover this in a little bit in more detail, but you want to have this clearly defined. You cannot launch a campaign. You cannot invest in X product. You cannot launch a new system or a process within your business without having clearly defined KPIs that you will guide yourself by for that specific project. If you want to launch a campaign next week, let's say it's a Google Ads campaign, you need to clearly define what the KPIs are going to be. Meaning, okay, our cost per lead must be below 20. Our cost per booked call must be below 100. And our cost per sale or cost per acquisition, however you want to call it, must be below 1,300. If you are within those metrics, that's when you know you have a successful campaign. Successful campaign can't be determined by I spent X and I got X. I think it's good. No, beforehand, you need to have clearly defined the numbers that you are going to need to achieve in order to classify it as a successful campaign. And this comes down, which is a topic we'll talk later, that is not on the board, to knowing your numbers. How much does a client pay you? How long does he stay with you? what's your cost for acquiring a customer. Once you know those, then you can clearly and easily come up with campaigns and launch them knowing that I can spend X amount of dollars to acquire a customer because I know that further down the line he will pay me X amount, or X times 2, let's say. He will pay X times 2 the amount that I paid to acquire him. Therefore, you are profiting. We need to know this. And finally, we have systems, which is my favorite topic on the board. A system is clearly you uniting processes. Let's say you have 4 processes, you unite them. This is considered a system. And if you go see, in nature, in business, in economics, systems are all around us. You have the weather system, you have the respiratory system, you have the system of inflation, for example. These are all a mix of processes bundled together into one system. And this is how I want you to look at your business. Not as individual processes, but as a mix of processes that create a system. Your business is a system. You need to adopt a systems thinking mentality if you want to create a well-oiled machine that you can sell in the future. And even if your plan is not to sell your business, it's just to make it more profitable, you still need to adopt a systems thinking approach. So, the first pillar that we will cover, and I purposely put it first, is people. Why? Because people are the most important pillar of your business. And for this, I will tell you a very quick story. We were consulting with a client of ours, 20-year-old guy, runs a successful firm, about 3 months ago. And I was asking him, to you, what are the top 3 priorities or the top 3 most important things within your business? And he said, clients first, product second, and team third. And I said to him, that's exactly the reason why you won't be able to exit your business and why no one likes working with you. That's why your employees keep churning. That's why you constantly need to be rehiring and retraining other people. Because you are putting people third. You are putting clients, which if we look at it, there's an infinite sea of possible clients to work with you. But people, there are maybe 10, 30, 40 people that are actually competent and that match with you, with your company, with your style, with your personality. It will help you turn your company into a growing one. And understand this, your business will only grow, your business will only scale to the level of the people that you have working inside the business and outside the business. Okay? That's why we put this first. People. People should be your number 1 priority. Are the people competent? Are the people motivated? Are the people well compensated? Do they have a clear vision as to where they are going? Do they have a clear picture as to what they are doing each week, each month, each quarter? If not, you have a serious problem. Because you can have all the systems in the world, the best automations, the best processes, the best SOPs on how to do things, but if you don't have motivated and competent people to run those systems, to oversee them, and to dictate how those processes are run and when, then you have a massive problem. Okay? And in people, you have a couple of things that you need to define. Remember, we are in the as is and to be. First thing you need to map out is your organizational chart. I won't give you too much theory, but this should be a simple fluxogram identifying the people and the departments you have within your business. So it could look something like this, where you have the founder here, you have the COO here, and then, for example, you have the marketing, sales, tech, support. These are all managers. I'm not going to do all the connections. Excuse me for my drawing, that's not my main skill, so I'm not a painter. You have the managers here, and then you have people under these managers. Let's imagine these 3 have. Whether you're working with a consultant, whether you are working with an advisor, or you are speaking with an investor, this is one of the first things they will want to see. Who are the people in your business? What are they doing? Who oversees them? And how far and how deep does the pyramid go, let's say. Because it's different if you have a business with the founder, 3 support individuals, and 1 here, or if you have something well mapped out like this one. You would be surprised as to how many people don't have this mapped out. Yes, they have the vision in their mind. Okay, we have Sarah working on marketing, we have John working on product, Philip working on technology. But if you ask them to map it out, they don't have it. Another quick story, because I believe stories help you get the point into your head. One of our best clients, and if you're watching this, hello sir, one of our best clients we worked with, we came to him and we were on a group call with 4 different departments, the CEO and myself, on a group call, the first call. You can see how chaotic this was turning. Tech person had one opinion, marketing person had another opinion, the product individual had another opinion, and then the support manager had no clue what they were talking about. And I could see that the boss didn't have a clear picture as to what each of these were doing on a daily basis. So I told him, Dave, let me audit your business, let me sit down with each of these department members, let me understand what they are doing, let me map it all out, who they speak to, and let me present to you on Friday. This call was on Monday. And just by that, this was pre-deal, pre-partnership, just this mapping out, okay, this is the people in your business. This is how they are interconnecting between departments. These are the processes that they are doing. Just that mapping alone gave him a very clear picture, a much clearer picture, I must say, than what he currently had. He just knew, okay, I have these 4 individuals that are working on X projects, and I can trust them to perform X role, X deliverable, and X task. But he didn't know, okay, how are they interconnecting? How is product interconnecting with marketing? How is marketing interconnecting with customer support? Because you see a problem. Customer support are the ones that are talking with clients day in and day out. If you know marketing, you know that you need actual, real customer language in order to know what to do in your marketing, what to say, what should your messaging be. But if your marketing individual is not speaking to the customer support, how can he know what to use in his new angles, in his copywriting? Okay? Same thing. If your marketing individual is not speaking to the product people, how can he know new features that he needs to speak about in his advertisement in order to make people convert? And if the product individual is not speaking to the customer support individual, which is the ones that hears complaints, problems, and even good things, although it's rare, because we humans we don't like to acknowledge, we only like to complain. I don't know why. But if the customer support, which is the individual of the company with the most in real-time feedback from the client, the customer, remember, your customer builds your product, not you. They will tell you, the market will tell you what they want to see, what they value, what they will pay for, not you in your brain. The product person is not communicating these pain points to the product individual. How can he know, or how can he make the most accurate features? How can he ship out the most accurate features not knowing what customers are saying? Now, this is the as is, how your business currently operates. Now, what we want to define, because humans can only achieve that which we can visualize. If you cannot see the clear picture, you won't be able to get there. We want to define the to be. And the to be might be adding, for example, a manager here and 2 more people. And thinking, okay, if I was working with 100 dream clients, what infrastructure would I need to have in place in order to deliver the best results for those individuals? And you would see, okay, I'd need a creative director. I need 3 support managers. I'd need 10 people on customer support, because we have 100 clients. We want one support manager to have 10 clients. We would need 10 sales reps. Okay. And you start mapping it out. And the to be might be 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the size of the as is. And note, the to be won't be accurate. It won't be what you will build and what you will have built once you get there. But it gives you a good draft in your head for you to come into the office every morning and look, okay, this is how I want my business to look like in 5 years. What are the priorities? Is it a creative director? Is it a sales rep? Is it someone for marketing? Is it someone for product? But you know, okay, this is what I need to hire for. Depending on where you are in the business, you can decide, do I start hiring here, here, or here? But if you don't have this vision, this won't be possible. Now, let's talk processes. You should also remember how before I told you you need to adopt a systems thinking mindset. If you want to adopt that mindset, you also need by default to adopt a process-led mindset. Because you remember what I told you, a system is just a bunch of processes that work with each other to make the system. But what is a process? A process is defining something. It's like a protocol, meaning every week I will sit down with my marketing officer and I will review the numbers of their week. That is a process. You might think, okay, yes, but that seems small. Over time, processes compound. But if you don't have them in place, if you are not used to them, they won't happen. Now, you don't need to create every process for your business in one go. Start from the top up. Think, if I want to exit from the day-to-day, because before you are able to exit your business, you first need to exit the day-to-day operations. If I were to be fully removed from the day-to-day operations, what processes would need to be in place? An example would be, every week I will sit down with the head of each department and understand what happened that week. Okay? It can also be, every week I will sit down with the customer success manager for 3 hours instead of 1 hour to understand what are our clients saying. Are they loving our product? Are they hating it? Why are they loving it? Why are they hating it? These are processes that you need to think first on a big scope, these big processes that you can implement right away that will allow you to exit the day-to-day, but then you'll need you or someone that you hire to go deep into the business to create processes in the bottom layers. Meaning, if you remember the fluxogram that we had before, just put a simple one. It's impossible that you, as the founder, are able to create a process for this. For example, for how someone comes up with ideas for new marketing campaigns. That's not your role, but you need to create a process in between you and the person that communicates with the individual that you are trying to create a process for. Let me repeat, you need to create a process between you and the individual that is responsible for the person or role that you want to create a process for, and create a process, sounds repetitive, you need to create a process between you and him on how to create the process for this final individual, this final role. And you can start seeing how, oh, but process here, process here, process here, process here, process here. What does this make? A system. Okay? And what we want to end up, and that's why I left it for last before, is with a bunch of systems, well-oiled systems, functioning systems, healthy systems that make the whole business system. That's our idea here. Okay? Your job here is to think of what processes can I, as the founder, implement right away, and then what processes need to be implemented. You can hire outside help for this, or you can delegate to these individuals here, and what processes need to be implemented for each of your departments. A process can be, and this is something that you can create, at the end of the day, the sales rep who made the most amount of calls will get a point. And at the end of the month, the sales rep with most points will gain a bonus. That's a process. And that's a process with a motivation behind it. It will push your sales rep to make more calls. But then you'll be like, okay, but can't they cheat this process? Just make calls by the sake of making calls? Yes, they can, but it's up to you to know the people that you are dealing with. I advise you to only do business with serious people, people that will respect processes, protocols, hierarchies, rules. Not that we want to enforce them, but we want them to be respected. There's a very clear difference in enforcing and being respected. Projects. What projects is your company currently working on? What projects did the company work and successfully completed in the past that can be used as proof as to why you are able to then land a new project? And what projects are you hoping to get in the future? And you want to map this out in a calendar view, meaning before explaining to you or showing my ideal way of mapping out a project, why is it important to map out a project? Because it's different if someone comes to you, an investor or a consultant, and you have 10 projects that are in kickoff or 8 projects that are in completion mode and 2 projects that are to be kicked off next week. That's a different management. When a project is being kicked off, you need way more resources. As well, when a project is being completed, you also need attention to detail. Because what I like to say in projects, and I have found this to be true in the innumerous amounts of projects that I have worked, the 2 parts that take the most amount of resources and energy, therefore you need to be prepared for it, is the completion part and the beginning part. It takes a lot to take a project from 0 to 15. It takes pure focus work to be mapping out what the end product needs to look like, the nuances, what needs to be built, the roadmap, the deliverables, the tech stack that is going to be used, the people that are going to be involved, and then passing that vision along to the individuals that are going to be working on the project, and also getting feedback from the client being like, is this what you agreed to? Are we clear? Are we aligned? Can we start this off? I noticed in my time it takes a lot of effort to take it from 0 to 15. Then we have from 15 to about 85 to 90%. I see this as an airplane. It's when you are up in the skies and you're just cruising. If you notice, an airplane burns almost 90% of its fuel. Don't quote me on this, but it burns majority of its fuel on the takeoff. It's when you are getting things off the ground, and the rest of the fuel when you are landing. When you are high in the sky, above clouds, you already know what you're doing, you just need to put in the reps, keep hitting the pedal. That's when it's easy, when you're cruising, you're just doing what you know how to do or what your team knows how to do. So you can expect projects from here to be smooth, okay? But expect in the beginning that you will have to put a lot of resources into kickstarting a project the right way. And it's better to put these resources at the beginning, to clearly map out at the beginning and not in the middle. Because how you start a project, the first impression that you give to your team about the project, to the client about the project, will determine the whole event of the project. And then you have the completion of it, this final 85%. This is where endless revisions happen. If you work with tech, endless troubleshoot, deployment part, it's not fun, it's a tedious process, it needs a lot of attention to detail, and it's like a landing. You need to be perfect because one little detail will mess the entire work that you did up until this point. So be prepared when it comes to projects to expend a lot of resources and energy and focus, you or your team, it doesn't matter who's working on it, just speaking it as a broad, be prepared to spend a lot of time in the beginning of it and at the end, and expect a smooth ride from 15 to 85%. And see what type of resources, which is something we will talk a little bit down the line, are needed for each of the projects. Now, you also want to clearly have mapped out what projects have you worked on in the past, your company, and you have successfully completed, that you can use as proof and as case studies, as social proof for your marketing campaigns and for acquiring future clients. Because the easiest way to acquire another client is by showing how you made the previous client a lot of money. That's obvious, that's human psychology, but most people don't think about it. It's not active in their mind. You need to be actively about it. What clients did I have? How can we leverage it with a new trend that came out, or with a new campaign that we want to do, or in this time of season, how can we leverage it? Or how can we pull past clients' stories, because stories sell, in this negotiation? Think about those, be clear about your projects, spend some time here, and you will see that overall you will have a way more healthy and clarity-oriented business. Next, products. We won't spend too much time on this because individually you will know the nuances of your product. I can speak fundamentals here, but you better than anyone will know about the product that you sell. But it's important for you to clearly define the product that you are now selling, the ways that it can be packaged, because you can sell a pen in 100 different ways, and the products that you want to introduce or want to sell further down the line. Why? Like we spoke about in the last module, projects, so you can map out how are you going to create that product. What resources are needed in order to make that happen? How are you going to sell it? Who are you going to sell it to? How are you going to introduce it to the market? And how are you going to distribute them? Then finally, how are you going to fulfill that product to your clients? It's important to note this down because investors first want to see you very clear on what you are selling. It's important to have this noted down because investors want to know that you are very clear on what you are selling, but they also want to know about future products, future ideas, and future services that you want to introduce to the marketplace. Because more than the as is, an investor is concerned as well with the to be. Is there room to grow? Is there space to grow? Are new products being introduced in the future of this company? If so, that's more ideal to an investor than someone that has been selling the same product for the last 50 years. Now, another interesting and very important nuance when it comes to products. You have to be able to recognize how your product differentiates itself from the competition, and if someone wanted to replicate your product, this is very important. If someone wanted to replicate your product, could they do it? It's a very important question you need to ask yourself. Are you the only one who can provide the product you are providing? If not, you have work to do. Look at Amazon's case. If you wanted to compete against Amazon, you would have to spend 20 years, billions of dollars in distribution, billions of dollars in distribution centers, distribution routes, servers, infrastructure, and people. The founder and CEO of Amazon is able to go at night and sleep peacefully, or so I think, because he knows that no competitor, doesn't matter the amount of money they put in, won't be able to steal his business model, his product, his value proposition in the next decade or next 2 decades. This gives him peace, and this makes his business way more attractive in the eyes of an investor. And this is what you want to do. You don't want to look for easy and cheap ways that you can improve your product. You want to look for difficult and expensive things, sacrifices that you will have to make in order to improve your product. Because when you compound these sacrifices and hard things to introduce to your product over time, that's when you build one, differentiated product, and two, a product that can't be stolen or mimicked by any of your competitors. That's when you know you are ready for someone to acquire your business, because they are investing. Think of it like this: if an investor invests in you, he's betting on your company, he's betting on the future of your company. And if you can show them you have a bulletproof product that can't be stolen or mimicked, you will look way better in the eyes of that investor. Now let's talk about resources. You have to look at your business as a house. Resources are the cement that you have to build that house. Without cement, you won't be able to build a house. But if you don't know how to use and place that cement, you won't also build a house. So they go hand in hand. One, having the resources. Two, knowing how to deploy those resources. I like an analogy. I can't think off the top of my mind who it's from, but it's to think as, but the analogy, okay. I like an analogy off the top of my mind. I don't know who it's from, but it's to look at capital as dollars, as soldiers that you can deploy onto the battlefield. Meaning, if you invest 50,000 USD onto a marketing campaign, you are deploying 50,000 soldiers into war. And you expect these 50,000 soldiers to bring you more soldiers. So you send 50,000 and they bring you 100,000 soldiers. That's what you want to do with your resources. You want to deploy them in a way where your resources grow over time, under the right conditions and environment. But you can't do so if, one, you don't have resources. I imagine that's not the case. If not, you shouldn't be watching this video. But two, if you don't have a clear vision of the resources that you have. Resources come in the form of what people do we have, what systems do we have, what capital do we have, how much capital do we have, what can we invest, what people do we know, what people are working with us. These are all resources that you can use to further grow your business. And I won't spend too much time speaking about resources. There are more qualified people to do so, and I will bring them on the channel in a future date. But you need to be clear on the resources that you have, whether that's capital, human, media, what code, what sort of leverage. What can you use to further grow your business? Because you might pay with time, you might pay with money, you might pay with expertise, you might pay by exchanging services, but if you are not clear on what you have to trade in a negotiation, then you will lose that negotiation, and we don't want that to happen. Resources are very important because investors will ask you about them, meaning they will want to know how much liquid money do you have, how many people do you have, out of those, how long have they been working on your company. Who do you know? Do you know other investors? Do you know people on other markets? Because that can be key in a negotiation. You knowing someone on another vertical of the market that the investor might see as a good way and a good path of expansion in the future. Okay, for example, him saying, have you considered expanding onto this market? I think that might work very well. You're like, no, I haven't, but I know X person in this vertical that might help me out in expanding to this department. That's why it's important for you to map out every single thing, whether that's a connection, whether that's capital, whether that's some sort of product that you built or a case study that you have. You want to map out every resource that you have that you can use in your day-to-day of your business in order to grow it further. Let's get KPIs. Next up, KPIs. I mentioned this a bit earlier on, so I won't go into as much detail as I could go. Maybe I will make a separate video about it later on in this channel. We got a lot to cover. We're still young here. If you are patient, if you stay on that side, I think you will learn a lot by watching these videos. But KPIs are key for you when you exit the day-to-day of your business to be able to look as, is the business doing okay or is the business not doing okay? And what you want to do with KPIs is reverse engineer them. Meaning, you want to make, let's say, 1 million per month. Okay. In order for you to make 1 million per month, how many new clients do you need to have? 5. In order for you to have 5 clients every month, how many sales calls do you need? Let's say your closing rate is 10%, so you need 50. How many leads do you need in order to book a call? Let's say it's 10. For every 10 leads, you have 1 booked call. So you need 500 leads. How many eyeballs, how many conversations do you need in order to create a lead? You might need 1,000, which would mean you need 50,000 leads, eyeballs. You would need 50,000 eyeballs. And you want to reverse engineer it and create KPIs based on this. So in order for you to reach 1 million a month in revenue, you need 5 clients. In order for you to get 5 clients, you need 50 meetings for your sales team. In order for you to get 50 meetings, you need 500 leads. And in order for you to get 500 leads, you need 50,000 eyeballs. And now you reverse engineer it. How much money do we need to spend on advertisement to reach 50,000 eyeballs? Okay, got it. And then you will need to put KPIs here, here, and here, which is here you need a 1%, if my math isn't, yes. You need a 1% conversion rate from eyeball to lead. That will be your first metric, which is, you can call it eyeball to lead must be greater than 1%. From lead to booked call, you need a 10% conversion rate. And you would write that down. From lead to booked call, you need to be above or equal. Let's be correct here. Attention to detail. Above 10%. The same from booked call to closing. You also need above 10%. Once you map this out, and this is a very simple example because you will have multiple other big KPIs that you will need to reverse engineer. So for example, how many product launches do we do? How many new ad creatives do we test out each week? How many surveys do we do for our clients? We'll have a lot of other KPIs that you will want to track or create in case that process doesn't exist. But this is what you want to do. You want to map out the big goal, do the numbers that make sense and that you think are reasonable for your industry, and start creating metrics for it, which is, okay, our eyeballs to leads must be greater than 1%. Our leads to booked calls must be greater than 10%. Our booked calls to clients must be greater or equal than that 10%. So you can go on a meeting with your head of sales at the end of the week and look at these metrics. And if you see, for example, that here you have 2%, but here you have 6%, and here you have 3%, you know how to identify the problem like this, because this should be 10, okay? So from booked calls to clients, it should be 10. Here you have a couple of ways of going about diagnosing this problem. Is it the quality of leads? Are the closers not following the script? Are the prospects not interested in the product? It could be either of those three. it can be product, it can be a problem of the closer or the lead. You will have to audit each one. So for example, a good way to do this would be for your head of sales to go audit those calls. Let's go see the call recordings and let's go see why they didn't close. Were they not interested? Did they not have budget? They were squeezed to the max, but they didn't have the budget? Or did the closer not push hard enough for the call? Once you fix this bottleneck and you turn this 3 into 10, then you go on to the next one until all of these numbers on the right here match your desired KPI. In this case, 10. And I'm going to talk about a phenom here, which is very important for you to know. That is what happens when you apply volume to a broken machine. So let's say you have these numbers, 3%, 6%, and 2%. This one is above KPI. These two are below KPIs. Let's say you decide to spend more money on advertisement and you go from 50,000 eyeballs a month to 200,000, so 4 times. You will still have this problem. But this problem will intensify itself with the more calls that you have. By you fixing this and increasing the volume here, it doesn't mean more people will close. More people will close, yes, but the percentage, which is what we need to be looking at, if you know anything about mathematics, you can't be looking at the actual number, you need to be looking at it from percentage. It's all a percentage basis. The percentage will decrease because if more people come into this system, they will apply more pressure to the system, and if there's a crack, if there's a bottleneck, this bottleneck will only be exposed even further. Because what happens, for example, let me give you an analogy. This is not an analogy of mine. No, people are like, oh, you stole that, you stole that, you stole that. No one is inventive nowadays, because for someone to know something, someone else needed to pass him some knowledge a while back for him to be able to know that. But I'm going to draw an analogy to make this point, which is, let's say this is sea level, this is minus 100, and this is 0. If you have a submarine here with a little crack, as you go down, so for example, let's say you go down to minus 20, the crack will get bigger. As you go down to minus 50, the crack will get bigger until you reach minus 100, and excuse my drawing, but the submarine will fall in half. Because when you apply pressure, if you know anything about the sea, the deeper you go, the more pressure you have. As you apply pressure, this crack will start to expose itself. That's why you want to fix this bottleneck, this 3% right here, before putting more volume in your system. Which leads us to our final point of the as is to be, which is systems. So now let's talk systems and let's continue with this example that we had here. We had 5, we had 50, we had 500 if I'm not mistaken, and we had 50,000. This is a system. This is a client acquisition system where you have the end goal and you have your metrics. This was 10, this was 10, this was 10, and this was 1. Have a system with various steps and processes in between it, various nuances that they all interconnect. Because eyeballs are connected to leads, leads are connected to booked calls are connected to clients, clients are connected to money in your bank. If you improve this one, for example, from 1 to 3%, this will also increase, this will increase, not the percentage, but the actual number here generated. This will increase, this will increase, this will increase, this will increase. This is what we want to create in your business for you to have a sellable, profitable, and a healthy business, which is systems. Because once you can visualize systems, and systems are in place because processes and KPIs have been clearly defined, that's when you can come into this system and be like, okay, let's apply more volume here. Instead of 50,000, let's generate 200,000 eyeballs per month. And you can be sure that this will increase to 2,000. This will increase to 200. this will increase to 20, and let's say this increases to 3 million. Might not be linear, not every system is linear, some systems are exponential, but if all percentages stay the same, which is what you want to be keeping track of, remember, you as the founder, as a CEO, your only job is to make sure that these KPIs that you set as healthy KPIs are being met, and then deciding when and how to apply more volume to the system. But if the system is broken, you cannot apply volume. You can, but it won't work. Okay? This is how I want you to be thinking about your business. Not as individual processes, but as systems. Not as how much money are we making or how many clients are we closing, but okay, how many eyeballs are we generating? How many of those are we converting into leads? How many of those leads are converting into booked calls? Okay, how many are converting into clients? How much are they paying us? Okay, this is all good. We can apply more volume. This is system thinking. This is how you need to be thinking. Because when you have a system mapped out, whether that's for front end or for back end, a system for back end could be, for example, if we clean the board, this is a system for front end, but let's talk about back end. It's not as sexy. People don't talk about back end. They only tell you this is how you can acquire more clients. They don't tell you how to deliver those clients. And what good is it if you have 100 clients, but they all drop you and you have to give your money back? It's not what we want. A system for backend could be an onboarding system, which is, as we spoke, a mix of processes, which can be a client pays, he will need to have a workshop. Then he will need to be added to our communication channel, which is Teams. A drive will need to be created. This folder will be needed to be added to the drive, let's say the contract, and then an email must be sent to the client saying, hey, this is your shared drive, check this and check that, and then multiple tasks are needed to be created that are standard whenever you are kicking off a project, and then those tasks will need to be assigned to each individual on your project management tool, and then you need to communicate with those individuals that are going to be doing the tasks, saying, we onboarded this new client, these are the due dates, this is where you can check the full project, and this is the tasks that you need to do. This is an onboarding system. This is a system because you create it from scratch instead of being, okay, a client pays me, I'll talk to John, I'll let him know, John will talk to Margaret, and then in 3 days we'll let you know next steps. No, you want to have the system mapped out. Why? Because if you have the system mapped out like this can be automated within 30 minutes, 1 hour, depending on who you hire or your expertise. This can be automated via an automation platform. And if you design the system, to design a system, you first need to design and map out the processes. But if you design a system, you can automate it. That's what I want you to leave this video with. If you have a system mapped out and defined, most likely you can automate it. And if you can automate it, by default, you just increase the enterprise value of your business. Why? Because this happens without any manual occurrence, meaning this is automated, this is automated, this is automated, this is all automated. The only thing here that wouldn't be automatable, check if it's in the dictionary, if not we'll add it, we'll pay someone, is the tasks here. These tasks that need to be done, but the creation and definition of the tasks can and should be automated. And when this happens, you can be sure, okay, I'm bringing in 5 clients per month. If we bring on 10 clients, no problem. Why? Because we have an automated system to onboard and to deliver those clients that runs on autopilot and that doesn't care if 10 individuals or 100 individuals are ran through this automation at a time. And that's when you have a sellable business. Because now all you need to do, if you look at it, you have a client acquisition method that you have broken down through metrics and systems. A system is created, you know the metrics, you know if you hop on a call with the head of sales, you know exactly what to look for to fix that system, and you can give that information to another individual. You have a system, not one, you will have multiple of these, but you have a system on the back end to onboard those clients. You'll have systems to also deliver those clients. Now, all you have to do is put more volume into both systems. So first, the client acquisition system, because the client acquisition system feeds the onboarding system that feeds the delivery system. And you know that once you've done that, you have a profitable system, a profitable business that will run and grow by itself. And that's when you can approach an investor and say, look at what I built. How much will you give me for it? But then there's also a nuance, which is once you build this, and to me this is the great paradox of investing, once you build a sellable business, you won't want to sell it, because all this process, the as is to be, will take you about 6 to 18 months depending on your current situation. But once you go through this full process and you have built a sellable business, my question to you is, why would you want to sell it? Because you have a business that grows by itself predictably and reliably without your daily input. So why not just reap the rewards of the inputs that you've put in the past to get here? That's the fucking video.
Sim, senhor. Sim, senhor.